The Trump Justice Department is trying to stop the nation's first reparations program for black people. Last week, the DOJ made a court filing against the Chicago suburb of Evanston, Illinois, claiming their first-of-a-kind compensation plan is race-based and unconstitutional. Joining me now is Daniel Biss, mayor of Evanston, Illinois, and a Democratic candidate for Congress in Illinois' 9th District. Mayor Biss, I think once again the Trump administration is ignoring the facts and trying to rewrite history. It was less than 60 years ago that black residents of Evanston were forced into certain neighborhoods through redlining, restricted housing policies, and banking discrimination. Supporters of this program say the goal is to repay the victims of these discriminatory policies, regardless of their identity. What is your response to the Trump administration's claim that the program is unconstitutional?
Well, we're proud of this program, Reverend, and you described it well, right? The city of Evanston, we're not talking about during the era of chattel slavery. We're talking about in the 20th century. The city of Evanston did a series of things to enforce segregation, to drive resources toward the neighborhoods that had been made white only, and to disinvest in the neighborhoods where African Americans were allowed to live. What did that do? It did what you would expect. It caused a big gap in property values. That created a racial wealth gap, and that exists today. So we took the action shamefully, intentionally. It resulted in concrete economic gaps that exist today, and we've created a program to address those gaps. And it's something, by the way, that is broadly popular in Evanston across race, because people in our community know when you incur a debt, you ought to pay it back.
Now, the program goes back at least 5 years, and this latest move comes 2 years after the program was first challenged by a conservative legal group called Judicial Watch. Has the Justice Department or anyone in the Trump administration reached out to you or the program's organizers to discuss their concerns before they tried to end it?
Well, of course not. And you make a great point. This program has existed for quite a while. This lawsuit has existed for quite a while. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, the DOJ decided to jump in. And as you said, I don't think they're interested in the facts. I don't think they're interested in the Constitution. I don't think that's what motivates Donald Trump. Donald Trump is trying to roll back the clock. Donald Trump is trying to stop anybody, any government, any organization, any person who's trying to address racial inequity and try to basically terrify them. And my attitude is we are going to defend this in court. We're confident that we designed a program responsibly and wisely. And I would urge others across the country to say, don't get bullied by these guys, because what they're trying to do is silence everybody.
Now, Evanston has already identified and paid at least 137 applicants who qualified for the reparations program. What impact have you seen those payments have had on those families, and what will be lost if the Trump administration succeeds in stopping this?
Well, let me give you two different answers. First of all, because much of the discrimination that the city was involved in was in the housing area, most of the benefits are in the housing area, payment toward a down payment or improvement on a home. And so we've seen people who they or their ancestors had been materially harmed by the city's racist, discriminatory policies have a shot at equity, have a shot at having that harm that was done to them at least begin to be reversed. And that's been game-changing in the lives of, as you said, hundreds of families across Evanston who are just trying to dig out of a hole that the city dug for them. But the other thing I want to say, and this is critical, is that people across races, and there is data to show this, have come to feel that they trust their government more now because, hey, we've taken on a tough problem. We didn't say, oh, reparations is too complicated, it's too hard, we'll wait for someone else to do it, it's too risky, we don't want to get sued, it's too politically controversial. We said, listen, this is a wrong in our community. It's a harm that we had a lot to do with causing. We have a moral responsibility to repay that debt, and we're going to do our best to do it and do it right. And I think in an era like now, when people look at government and they say, can government fix anything? Is government willing to be bold and try to tackle tough problems? This has been a source of pride and inspiration in our community.
If Donald Trump and his Justice Department succeed, what message do you think this will send to other cities trying to address the legacy of racism in this country?
Well, Reverend, that's the greatest tragedy here, because I think this is a lawsuit and it's a shot across the bow to anybody, right? One of the things that happens when you do something first is others come to you and try to figure out if they can emulate it. We've had hundreds of representatives of municipalities and states, and in some instances, even other countries, come to Evanston to learn about our program and see if something like that would fit for them. And this is a clear message to them: back off, don't try, we're going to come for you. And unfortunately, that is how Donald Trump operates. Yeah. It's through bullying, it's through trying to silence all dissent. And I just think all of us across this country have to stand up and say no. We have to be willing to take on some risk to fight back, because that's how you build the kind of movement that can actually win.
Now, I'm out of time, but I finally must ask you, Mayor Biss, you are a candidate in the race for Illinois 9th Congressional District in the House of Representatives. If you win, are reparations issues an issue you'd like to pursue at a national level for discussion?
You bet. I would be so honored to go to Congress and say, listen, I'm the mayor who implemented the first of its kind reparations program. It worked. It did what it was supposed to do. People in our community across races love it. And it's time to take reparations national.